Good afternoon, this is Sam on for Sam Sports Report. Today's date is December 5th, 2023. This is Sam Vaughn. Jacksonville Jaguars squared off against the Cincinnati Bengals, and Joe Burrowing led the Bengals as a backup quarterback and had an absolutely outstanding game. He had over 354 yards and one touchdown. The Bengals, with no Joe Burrow and a running back of Joe Mixon, got two touchdowns and helped them win, and Jamar Chase had 149 yards and one touchdown as well. They were both offensive. This is both an offensive showing by the Bengals, who scored 34 points, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who scored 31 with another backup quarterback in for 1.5 quarters. This is done by backup in the last quarter and half, with both backups. As Trevor Lawrence sustained an injury, and we won't know how long he's out, he'll be likely out for some time. They did get positive news that they avoided the worst, and the Bengals are obviously without starter Joe Burrow. The Jags are also without starter Christian Kirk, who Coach Doug Peterson said on Tuesday Christian Kirk will miss some time due to his core muscle injury that he suffered during Monday night's game in the loss to the Bengals. That is among ESPN reports. Cornerback Trevor Henderson is in a concussion protocol, suffering a head injury. As we said, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals played all the way until overtime as Jake Burrowing led the Bengals to the win. And his great start and 349 yards. Let's hear that field goal made at the end.
He got it! But a flag flies at the end of the play, so we'll hold on. Bengals indicate that this is against the Jaguars, and if it is, this game is over.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on the defense, leaping. Penalties decline, field goal is good.
And this game is over. One of the most entertaining games of the season, and Jake Browning has an NFL win, and man, did he earn it tonight.
And now, as we look at Trevor Lawrence injuries, we look at all the rest of the NFL quarterbacks injured this season. With the Jacksonville Jaguars, we just said Trevor Lawrence. The Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback got hurt this week. Kenny Pickett. Now it's back to Mitchell Trubisky, former Bear. And as the Cleveland Browns are on their third starting quarterback, Joe Flacco made his first start in the year and hasn't been on a team since 2022 and started last week. The Indianapolis Colts have a different player than two of their starters, and after Tyrod Taylor, now it's on to, and he got hurt this season and he's out for the season, now it's on to Gardner Minshew. Jake Burrowing. The Las Vegas Raiders have changed quarterbacks, and their quarterback is Adrian O'Connell. The New York Jets have switched to several quarterbacks. Their quarterback is now Tim Boyle. I don't even know who that is. The Tennessee Titans quarterback is now Will Levis after Ryan Tannehill lost his job and is now out for the season. Pats changed from Matt Jones to Bailey Zappi. All of these teams have changed their quarterbacks. In the AFC and the NFC, there's more. The Minnesota Vikings was Kirk Cousins, and now it's on to Joshua Dobbs, who all-star started for the Cardinals. The Giants have also changed their quarterback and have switched from Daniel Jones to Tommy DeVito. The Bears had a different quarterback. Justin Fields was injured. The Cardinals had a backup to Joshua Dobbs and now are back to the original starter, Kyle Murray. And that's it for all the starting quarterbacks, as that's a bunch. Kansas number 2 basketball score tonight, final was 88-69. Kansas blows past UMKC. Kansas will get a next matchup against Missouri, which is very unlikely for Missouri to win. No favorites given, but leading him towards about 26 points, leaning towards Kansas. Probably won't be close. Mizzou has found their way a little bit and has won 4 in a row. Beat in the polls, Pittsburgh. UConn scored tonight in the rest of the top 25 games. UConn scored 69-63, 7:42 to go. Baylor beats Seton Hall 74-59. San Diego State gets upset by Grand Canyon 69-56 as 25 loses. 88-69. Kansas, we said. Illinois over FAU, number 20 over number 11, 98-89. Tennessee over George Mason, handily 87-66. Oklahoma over Providence, handily 72-51. Wisconsin over Michigan State, not even close, 70-57, as they have not been good and have dropped all the way to the top 25 polls and lose to number 23, Wisconsin, and not a very close game. Gonzaga blows past there in Pine Bluff by a lot, 111-71. BYU beats Evansville 96-55, and a little memory back for me is SIU and Oklahoma State are battled in a barn burner at 64 apiece. That's where I went to school for a little bit. And Kansas State plays LSU Saturday. Kansas State is 7-2, LSU 5-3, 12:30 tip-off. A Missouri-Kansas game tips off at 4:15. In football, Kansas City makes the Guarantee Rate Bowl against UNLV. Former Mizzou coach Barry Odom player was the coach before Eli Drinkwitz. The Kansas Jayhawks will play for the Guarantee Rate Bowl against UNLV December 26 at 8 o'clock. Kansas makes their bowl, and Kansas State finishes the regular season overall 8-4 and 6-2. But let me make sure this loss is credited in here. Kansas State lost to Mizzou by 3 at the very end. The Wildcats, and probably turned Missouri's season into a fantastic season. Kansas turns to Avery Johnson as Will Howard announces he is transferring out of Kansas State. NC State will play Kansas State in all likely the Gridiron Bowl. Don't know what time it is. Sounds like it could change, but it looks like it's going to be the Guarantee Rate Bowl against NC State. Mizzou makes their only third time to win 12 games in my lifetime. The best I've seen since 2007. In 2014, the Missouri team was pretty good, but this is the best team I've seen since 2007. Ohio State's Kyle McCord will make the start. That Missouri team was number 1 in the 2007 team at the end of the season and had a chance to go to the national championship if they just would have beat Oklahoma. The third leading rusher and the second in the FBS and the Power 5 conference, and the most successful player in maybe Division I history to come from a Division II school in Truman, has then turned into a star in the FBS and the SEC and should be all SEC first team, and maybe he will go to New York. The best story I have ever heard from a D2 school. He will be drafted in the NFL, all more likely. Cody Sharper. Here's that with part 2 more. This is Sam Vaughn for Sam Sports Report. Cody Sharper.
And it ended up being one of the biggest wins of the last few years for Mizzou. Schrader was obviously an extremely good player, but he was motivated by more than football. In 2019, one of his good friends passed away, and he said he wouldn't be playing if it weren't for that kid. He said, quote, That kind of pushed a different level of spirit within me to carry that dream that him and I had in high school of one day playing for a bigger school. That really pushed me, and I devoted that last game at Truman to him and got to wear his number 2. So at the time, I remember Mizzou getting this commitment, and while it was kind of a cool story, no one really ever took it seriously, honestly including myself. But now he's changing Mizzou football. How did that happen? When Schrader arrived at Mizzou, he was really thankful for the opportunity. He said, quote, "I thought it was the place in my life where I could finally chase my dream of playing SEC football, especially playing for Mizzou. Even with all these challenges in life both on and off the field for him, he would continue to bet on himself. He eventually outworked pretty much everyone, but the coaches still didn't really take notice when he first got there." Mizzou's running backs coach Curtis Looper said, quote, "Cody asked me, 'Coach, you didn't know much about me, did you?' And I said, 'No, I didn't, Cody, I'll be honest.'" So yeah, he arrived as apparently the 7th string running back on the depth chart, but would get some time in the spring game and would slowly start to prove all the doubters wrong. Then, going into fall camp, there were a ton of injuries, and Elijah Drinkwitz said he had been the most consistent running back. Eventually, he'd get his first career start against Louisiana Tech, and in his first game, he ran the ball 17 times for 70 yards and a touchdown. From there, he was just okay. He had a touchdown in their loss to K-State, had a touchdown in their loss to Auburn, and also had a touchdown in their loss to Florida. He was only averaging between 7 and 10 carries a game, and had a very interesting 2022 season. He ended up having a touchdown in the win against South Carolina, and in that game he had a season-high 22 carry. After the game, Coach Drinkwitz said, quote, "I wish we had a better record so more people would know his story, because it's an incredible story. He's the American dream, and he's just so grateful. He's loving this, and he'll do anything for the team, and putting it all on the line." He ended up finishing the year with a couple of good games, as he had 2 touchdowns in a win over New Mexico State, and then another touchdown in their victory against Arkansas. Because of this, they'd end up getting to a bowl game, and he'd score a touchdown in their loss to Wake Forest. In total, he finished with 745 yards and 9 scores. He was just an above-average back, but there was one story last December that made people know he was special. In December, Mizzou was prepping to play Wake Forest in last year's bowl game, and they apparently had a 3 p.m. practice. He was scheduled to graduate at 2, and he actually wanted to miss the ceremony so he could practice, but the coaches talked him out of it. He asked the coaches to send him that day's practice script, and later that night, the coaches had a recruiting dinner. It was the coldest weekend of the year, and one of the coaches noticed someone dressed out in full pads on the field by himself for more than an hour. The guy went through the entire practice script, and Mizzou's running backs coach took a picture of it and sent it in a group chat saying, quote, "This is why Cody Schrader beat you out. He's willing to do what you guys won't even think of doing." The guy had a ridiculous work ethic, but no one thought he could be an All-American. That is exactly what he has done this year so far. In week 1, Mizzou would play against South Dakota, and in that game, Schrader had his best outing of his career so far. He finished with 18 carries for 138 yards and a touchdown. But this was an FCS opponent. The following week against Middle Tennessee, he had 84 yards in that one and helped them barely escape. Mizzou was 2-0, but they really weren't looking that good. But then since then, Schrader has really turned it on. He had 58 yards in their win over number 15 Kansas State, and in that game, Mizzou kicked a 61-yard field goal, and that's what set off the national firestorm for them. After that against Memphis and St. Louis, Schrader would run the ball 14 times for 123 yards and a touchdown, and this would be his second 100-plus yard game in the season. From there, he had a touchdown on the road against Vanderbilt, before his real coming out party against number 23 LSU. In one of the best games of the year, Schrader finished with 114 yards and 3 touchdowns, and averaged nearly 8.8 yards per carry. Unfortunately, Mizzou came up short, but the following weekend, they would get some revenge as Schrader ran for a score, and they win over number 24 Kentucky on the road. At this point, Mizzou was now 6-1, and as the season went on, Schrader really started to play his best football. At home against South Carolina, he ran the ball 26 times for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they got another win. After that, in a road game against Georgia, Schrader ran for 112 yards and a touchdown against one of the best defenses in the country, and that game was very competitive on the road. But after that, his best performance of his entire career would happen. Against number 13 Tennessee, Schrader absolutely owned the ball. He ran for 205 yards and a touchdown, but also had 5 catches for 116 yards. He became the first back in SEC history to rush for more than 200 yards and have 100 yards receiving in a single game, and that was definitely elite territory. Both him and Jaden Daniels were named the SEC Player of the Week, and that's when Schrader really started to get a ton of media attention. Last weekend against Florida, he ended up running for 148 yards and a touchdown, and would help them come back and kick another game-winning field goal to beat the Gators. Mizzou now got their 9th win, and then today, he helped them get their 10th. In a road victory against Arkansas, he had over 217 yards and a touchdown in just the first half. Over the last 9 games, Schrader has completely dominated. He's ran for 1,272 yards with 12 touchdowns. He's also a receiving threat, and right now is the best running back in the entire SEC. He has a legit shot at getting Heisman votes, and he's pretty much locked up the Burlsworth Trophy for the best walk-on in all of college football. Trader truly has an incredible story and has been at the heart of Mizzou's resurgence. He'll get a chance to play in a New Year's Six Bowl more than likely, and I think will be a day 3 draft pick. While he won't exactly be the most flashy player in this year's draft pool, he's a guy who will contribute to a winning culture, and I think given the opportunity, could shine. We've also learned not to doubt him, and Cody Schrader will go down as a Mizzou legend. He'll definitely inspire plenty of athletes, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, let me know your thoughts down below, let me know what player I should cover next, and check out all my other videos on the end screen, including my video about the rise of Mizzou football. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.